On Capitol Hill right now, conservative groups targeted by the IRS are about to testify before the House Ways and Means Committee, just as a new Inspector General's report gives us more details of outrageous spending at those IRS conferences. Now, we told you about the 2010 conference that had film parodies of Gilligan's Island and Star Trek. Those are employees. And we also told you the IRS hired 15 outside speakers at a cost of $135,000. Well, wait till we tell you what they spoke about. It included $27,000 for an innovation expert, $11,000 for a happiness expert, $10,000 for a diversity and inclusion expert, and $17,000 for an artist who painted Abraham Lincoln and Michael Jordan during a session on leadership through art. I want to bring in Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat from California, and a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning.
Were you shocked when you saw some of the details of that spending, or does nothing surprise you anymore?
Well, it is shocking. At the same time, you're right. There's been a long catalog of these abusive expenditures by different federal agencies. It was the GAO a couple years ago. Now it's the IRS. And, what is so appalling about this is we already lost faith in the IRS in the sense that they were politicizing their investigations. And now taxpayers are further losing faith that any taxes they pay are going to be for legitimate expenditures. So it's a dead loser, and there's certainly plenty of investigative work to be done. I just wish we had more competent investigative committees on the task. But this really bears looking into, and the IRS and other government agencies are going to have to change the way they operate.
Well, this hearing today is one of 6 being held by the House and Senate this week. What do you mean when you say more competent?
Well, the House GOP has given up legislating. They're not really in the legislation business. They're in the investigation business. And having been a prosecutor myself for 6 years, specializing in corruption cases, you start with the evidence and you follow it wherever it leads. But this group of investigative committees in the House, they're doing it the other way around. They're starting with the conclusion they want to reach, which is the White House is responsible, was directing everything, and then they're trying to squeeze and fit the evidence into that conclusion even when it's not a good fit. That's just not the way to do it, and unfortunately there's been such a history of this in the House that now that there's a bona fide scandal that's worth investigating, that is the IRS, there's really little public confidence in any of these investigative committees.
Well, it did look yesterday in the hearing that your committee held that at least one committee member was kind of won over by the new acting IRS commissioner. Let me play a little exchange for you.
The solution here is, in my opinion, not more money. The solution here in this situation is to understand what controls need to be put in place, what oversight, what getting the right leadership in place.
I'm beginning to like you when you say you don't want more money. That's music to my ears.
It actually seemed, from what I read, and I certainly didn't watch the whole thing, that Commissioner Werfel has gotten pretty good marks for the answers he gave. It seemed like there were some more definitive answers than some IRS officials have given. But how much of an uphill battle does he face? Not just because of what the Republicans are doing, but, it's also, isn't it fueling both Republicans and Democrats when you have these new revelations? If more embarrassing revelations keep coming out, like happiness experts, how do you get to the bottom of things?
Well, he has a really big job on his hands for several reasons. He's got to restore faith and confidence in the IRS at a time when it must be at an all-new low. There are a number of problems plaguing the IRS. Management problems is obviously the problem that's the subject of this investigation. There's the problem with these crazy expenditures, the frivolous waste of taxpayer money. And at the same time, while he's got to look into this and he's got to hold people accountable, there is a Department of Justice criminal investigation going on, and he has to be careful that what he does doesn't interfere with that investigation. And the questions that he can ask IRS employees may be affected by whether they're concerned about criminal liability. So it's a tall order, but he has the advantage, I think, of being very competent, being very sharp, and also not being at the IRS while this was going on, and that will be a real benefit to him.
Congressman Adam Schiff, it's always good to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.